perhaps burning the bridge is the wrong move. Join Phil Wallace, Kent Jones, as we work on bridging civil tension. Today, we're going to talk about impeachment number 2 and the Kenosha Shooter. I don't want to give him a name.
Won't give him a name. Won't give him a name.
So buckle up and let's get this thing rocking and rolling, because there's a lot to cover in the next 60 minutes. I'll fade out. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Oh,
that was smooth.
The new one. How do you
look at you?
I like that, right?
All right.
Perhaps burning the bridge is the wrong move, but we've been doing it for so long. Anyway.
So
over here, this guy over here, Phil Wallace, entrepreneur, author, coach, mentor. Phil, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Phil Wallace on Facebook, the Bridge Community on Facebook, Wallace Learn to Sew on Facebook or Instagram.
That's it. Fantastic. Of course, if you want to get caught in the net, check us out at 216thenet.com or shoot us some ideas of new shows and things like that. If you got a small business and you want to be part of this family, let us know as well, because we're always looking for good stuff. And of course, the bridge is the Bridging Civil Tension. I always get it mixed up with the Facebook, the Bridge Community, is brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Gold Shield Today. So check them out at goldshieldtoday.com. Great HVAC guys, electricians, smart home stuff, but check them out. They are absolutely fantastic, and we appreciate their support. So today, let's start out with the impeachment before we get into. Let's let some people get in and kind of get their toes a little wet. But in all reality, history has been made. Trump is the only president in history to be impeached twice. What? Tell me about that. How does that feel? How does that make you feel? Is that exciting? Are you embarrassed? Or
I'm not going to sound condemning, and I don't want to sound judgmental when I say this. It is disappointing, though.
Yeah.
And not even from a standpoint of, my team, your team. I want to see this person, not do good. Like it's still the president, and I want to see him be successful and represent us appropriately, right? Despite how you feel or what letter, like we talk about, in front of his name, and to have a second impeachment, how are we starting to get looked at as a country comes to the forefront of my mind more so than your guys.
Hey, mom shows up to all my basketball games in sunglasses.
Right.
I mean,
newspaper over there, like it's someone else's kids.
Right. And now to the world where once our president was a symbol of democracy, peace, strength. Right. Now it's
a joke.
Not so much.
Right. There's so many. If you get a chance to look at like national media or newspapers, then they're talking about like it's the butt of the joke
all over the world.
All over the world.
Even in the little poor countries everywhere.
Them are openly just having a field day, just as far as the hypocrisy of our country. And okay, well, this is supposed to be so good to be in a democratic country, and now look at them. Like, we have to figure out a way to turn the ship around.
Yeah. So, for those of you, hey Gary, good evening. Hopefully you had a great Friday. Let me know what the markets did. I want to put some money. Come in because he's already Friday night. The market's closed over there. Yeah, give us some tips on some pennies stocks. We love it. In all serious though, the second impeachment of Donald Trump is for inciting an insurrection. So inciting a riot, a mob, right? And that's for a president to do is something. Now.
Especially when he had so much to say.
I've got a lot of friends. I've got a lot of friends out there, good Republican friends, with the R in front of the name, very, very conservative, who are like, listen, why are we going to waste $3.6 million on impeaching him when he's only got 10 days left? But not even. now, right? I mean, now it's done. And on Wednesday, we have President-elect Biden being sworn in, the inaugural ball and all that good stuff, right? And by impeaching him still doesn't mean he's thrown out. We haven't fired him, right? So all that the House of Representatives has said is you've done something wrong, and we're going to go to court. And court happens to be the Senate. Now, in the Senate, the way this works, you have to have a 2/3 majority. So you have to have 66 votes, right? Because I think there's 100 people in the Senate. I don't know exactly how many are in there, but I mean, that would mean that 17 Republicans would have to say that he's guilty. That's a lot of Republicans to say that he's guilty, right? I mean, so now by the time this goes to the Senate, we will have a new president. They're not going to rush this right into court. Okay, so why impeach, right? They'll say it's the thought that counts. Yeah, they'll say it is the thought that counts. No, but there's I've done some research because I'm not a politician. I'm not an attorney or anything like that. But I'm like, what does this mean if he's impeached? So here's kind of a guide. I don't know if you know, but here's kind of a guide of what happens next. This thing goes to the Senate. The Senate, of course, has to look at that's court. The Senate is the court, right? They have a trial to determine if he's guilty.
Right.
Okay, so even if he is no longer the sitting president, we can still follow through with this impeachment. And then, a 2/3 majority is needed to convict. And if all 100 senators are present for the vote, some of them.
Oh, so they all have to be there.
Right.
Okay.
17 Republicans would need to join the Democrats to convict. Now, what that means is there will be some Republicans who think that he's guilty and won't show up for the vote. They won't show. I got COVID. The kids got a show, diarrhea, whatever, and they won't show up. So a 2/3 majority of the voters. So if these, hey Randy, how are you?
What's up, Buck? How are you?
So if the senators decide that they don't want to show up because I'm a Republican and I think that he's guilty, but I don't want to vote, that just means that the 2/3 of the people voting have to say that he's guilty, right? Now, they're saying that the Senate is in recess until January 19th, right? So that's Tuesday, the day before. Of course, a great weekend to MLK. His birthday's today. Right. Martin Luther King, Jr., Dr. King. All right. So here's the thing. Here's what's at stake. Okay, of this second impeachment, and here's what can happen. He could, if he's found guilty of this, he'll lose his lifetime pension. A billionaire, or a guy who's.
I was really like, and what else? Because he's already okay. Go ahead.
He'll lose his annual travel budget.
What?
I didn't know they had annual travel budgets.
Yeah.
I knew the pension.
Yeah.
Stay with me. He will not be eligible for money for an office and staff. So Jimmy Carter, God love him for everything that he does, right? Still gets money for an office and a staff, and he's 90 some years old, 92, right? Here's the big thing, though, and this is probably why people are pushing for it, and that I think that a lot of Republicans don't understand. If he's found guilty, it will disqualify him to run for public office again. So, I mean, he could come back in 2024 and run for president again. I mean, he'll be 80 million years old. But we've seen the power of
supporters.
Yeah, his supporters, right? As they storm the Capitol, things like that.
Loyalty.
So I mean, so there is things at stake that the normal public doesn't necessarily understand or know.
Right.
And it doesn't say that he loses his Secret Service detail. I mean, they all get that for the rest of their life too, right? But here's the thing that happens now. The thing that happens now, it goes to court, and you got to get that 2/3 vote. And the accusation is incitement of insurrection. Okay. And that's really they're taking the speech he delivered to thousands of supporters shortly before the Capitol bum rush. And he's probably going to try to lean on free speech. And when he told supporters to fight, quote unquote,
Right.
that he did not intend it as literal call to violence. Right. So now we're getting into semantics and the legal blah, 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 blah. Right. And then, of course, he followed up just this past Wednesday, with a video that condemned last week's, the violence.
Mm-hmm. Sure, that was coached.
Oh, yeah. Where he said violence and vandalism have absolutely no place in our country and no place in our movement.
So you can put the country in danger, and they're going to take away your allowance, your travel fund, and your administration for putting the country at risk.
At risk.
For a civil war.
Yep, at risk.
Man.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Keep the couch that Clinton left behind. But does he keep the couch that Clinton left behind? I sure hope not.
Right. Just don't sit on the arms.
I don't want a presidential edition couch. Anyway.
So it's interesting, and it's going to take a lot of money. But while this is happening, again, and last week we talked about the master of puppets and misdirection.
Right.
So what are we trying to hide, or what's trying to happen, right? And a lot of people are saying, "Hey, man, the vote was illegal. We're breaking Constitution. Yada 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 yada."
Right.
And thank you so much to all the people who sent in emails and messages and proof, articles and things like that, the Italian affidavit, those type of things, to give me more information on their thoughts on why the vote was illegal and a fraud. So and we appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yep. But we talked about, at one time, I said, listen, I don't get how a bunch of people can, it's almost cultish to me.
Right.
I mean, he's the president of the United States. Great.
It's awesome.
And okay, voted in, all good. But if any president, we're like, hey, let's go storm the Capitol. At some point in your mind, you got to go, that ain't right.
That contradicts itself.
Right. That ain't right. And so my thought is that we here in America have lost our sense of right and wrong. And that's really what you and I have been talking about for 6-8 months with this show is what's right, what's wrong, and why is it right for some and it's wrong for others.
And the names of these are ours.
Right. And so I sit here and listen. If you were to hurt one of my kids, I'm coming after you.
Right.
Right or wrong, I know that legally I'm wrong, and I'm going to spend some time in jail for what I will do if you were to do that.
Right.
But I know that I'm going to do time. But I'm not going to give up until I do. Right?
Right.
Because those are my kids.
Right.
So, the whole truth of the matter to me is I still know right and wrong, and I've chosen to do wrong. And I can't be surprised at the outcomes legally
from the wrongdoing.
No matter, even if I'm wearing my collar as a deacon. Hey, I'm doing it. Hey.
I would take that another step further, though, especially if you've condemned others for doing the same type of wrong, and you voiced openly and aggressively that this behavior is wrong, and non-justifiable, and there's no excuse. Act like an adult. Blah 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 blah. You've said this, and you know, to your standard, this is not okay, and then you do it.
Yeah.
How is it different?
Well, and you know, so that goes both ways, and I know you've seen these posts out on social media as we kind of scroll through some things to prepare for this show. Is now we're seeing a post out there. Hey, well, remember when the Democrats stormed the Capitol in Madison, Wisconsin, and the people with the D in front of their name said, "Hey, this is just democracy." Okay. All right. And when and in the same post, you know, is, hey, remember back in 16 or whatever, and Black Lives Matters is standing across interstates and things like that as a show of solidarity and movement. And Barack Obama says, "Hey, listen, yeah, I support what they're doing, but you can't put their actions on one person."
Right.
So now again, one side of this story that are trying to say, "Hey, we're right because you guys said it back a few years ago that this was right." You know.
Yeah.
But hey, Tom, how are you, man?
Thomas, what's going on, brother? At the same time, like, while there was that, this is what I'm saying. The entire time they were being told from this party, this behavior is wrong. Despite how you feel, despite if you think there's injustice, grow up, stop whining. So the entire time I'm, hypothetically, I'm feeling that I should be able to stand outside. I'm told that I'm wrong and there's no reason for me to be here.
Correct.
Now,
I'm standing outside.
Now that you're standing outside, not because you feel that you're being targeted by law enforcement, you just don't like the way the votes went.
Yeah.
You're storming the nation's capital, not Wisconsin's capital.
Ooh,
and beating up police officers. Killing.
Right.
Going into public offices.
Right. Didn't a police officer die?
I thought that was one of the people.
Yeah.
I know
there were one or two people that passed.
Right? I know that there was one or two people that passed. I know multiple officers were assaulted.
So it wasn't just violent. It was deadly.
No, the multiple officers were assaulted.
Yeah.
And the lives that you said mattered, Blue, didn't matter when you were beating them up, possibly killing them. So
stand behind them.
You told me under all circumstances we back the Blue. You're kicking him.
Yep.
Explain that to me.
Yep. Great announcer standing outside. That's why I say I think we've warped and lost all sense of right and wrong.
I feel that when you're saying, well, you guys, I'm not saying you.
I understand.
When there's being said, well, you guys did it, but you told me I was wrong when I was doing it. It wasn't that I did it and you said, well, that makes sense. Openly spending months saying under no circumstances should you do this. So now that you get a little emotional yourself, the standard shifts. And it's these wild savages versus these hurt people who are justifiably upset. And we're talking about PubMed. You can't keep saying these people are wrong anytime they express emotion, and we keep making excuses anytime these people do worse.
Right.
It's not going well.
And I mean, and the idiocracy continues to in this nation continues to just be pushed forward and crazy. Yeah. Coach Papa Timmy says right, WRIGHT, and wrong, RONG. Yeah,
absolutely, Coach.
And it's at one point in time, and I said, listen, I don't follow a man.
Right.
The only man that I follow is Jesus. Right.
I'm with you.
Now, I say I still love this country. I'm proud to say I'm an American. However, as we continue this idiocracy how much longer can I say that? Because there are reports that Republican senators or whatever, right, politicians, on the day after the inauguration are going to start to try to impeach Joe Biden. What?
We're just being kids at this point.
We have to take that energy and let's do something good. Let's get America back to its glory. Let's, right?
Said proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Right. Define free.
Right.
That's what this show's all about. Right. So as I look at it and we continue right now, I mean, go back. It might be before your time. You're a young guy, right? Go back to when Yugoslavia was fighting itself and their civil war, and they broke up, and now it's Lithuania or I don't know what it is. Right. Anyway, right. Look how messy that was. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we look like right now because we as Americans can't come together. And we've allowed our anger for a person or a letter. Right. I've got a lot of friends who are Democrats. They're not socialists. However, this nation has said, socialists, never going to work.
Socialists.
Don't let them in. They're not going to work. Take our guns, going to do everything.
We got our men.
And right. So and on the other side, everybody who's got an R in front of their name now is a racist.
Stands for
sexist. Yeah, right.
R stands for racist.
So we've allowed our anger for one person to tear the fabric of this great country. I mean, this great country is a great country because it was give me your poor, give me your tired. Let us be a melting pot. Let us be the best place in the world to go. Well, I'm kind of thinking maybe Australia is a good place to go now.
Except for their spiders.
Yeah, hey, Singapore. That sounds good over there in Singapore. Gary's got it going on.
Right.
So with this second impeachment, we have to understand a couple things. It's not going to put him in jail. It's not going to, it's going to take away, his ability to perhaps run for public office ever again. Simple as that.
Which is safer.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing with the way this guy's acted, right?
But, okay, so do you feel that he has to be in public office to have the authority or control or influence?
Well, that's why we talk about a little cultish, right? I mean,
I don't know at this point if you take away his position.
Well, no, he's got a big following. He's got a bunch of followers, right? And 4 years of people really buying into his story. I mean, David Koresh was the same way, any cult leader was, Tom, whatever Jones, Jim Jones, whatever, same way. Only the unemployed or around poverty line people attack democracy out of frustration, and this isn't their fault. Do you agree with that? Ramit, dig a little deeper on that.
Go into that one.
Yeah, go a little deeper on that. Because you're not the only person who has said that on our show. Right. Ted Legal has put that out there once or twice before, saying, "Hey, it's not a race issue. It's a income or, So, yeah, dive a little deeper for me on that. Only the unemployed or around the poverty line people attack democracy out of frustration, and this isn't their fault. And it sounds like a little bit attack on capitalism. But that again, come here. That was the American dream: is create a business and
do what I want to
be as healthy, wealthy as you want to be, right? As you can make yourself. So the impeachment is going to happen. It'll go through. It can even when he's not a president because because the House of Representatives already brought up the charges. Right. And it is what it is. He's the first sitting president ever be impeached twice. What does that mean?
I feel it's too little, too late, though.
Well, it could be.
I feel like he's gone past the tipping point.
Yeah.
Where we can reel it in before that last push. I feel like he's already shown that it's pushed.
Oh, yeah,
storm the Capitol, and there's a following, and now there's threats to do things around.
The fuse have been lit, right? I mean, you and I were talking about that. Is there's some pretty strong warnings
to now have to make sure that you
hunker down
have
some
for
cash,
2
have some
weeks.
canned goods.
It's unsettling to hear my mom call this morning unsettled and concerned to make sure that I have enough for the 2 weeks or whatever, just because of the instability and the anger that is overflowing through this country.
Yeah.
And how did we get here? Or what things aren't we stopping that we see like, hey, this is going in this direction. Let's not continue doing what's causing this.
Right. So I go back to the movie Airplane, where the lady was freaking out like, get a grip. You know what I'm saying? When is that point for us here in America? When is it all of a sudden I'm going to stop being angry because you're black and a Democrat? And when are you going to stop being angry that I'm an old white guy and a Republican? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is when do we just say, holy cow, how did we get here? This is bad. It's scary bad. And I think of my 11-year-old daughter. What is she growing up into? What does she see? What is she being taught? So it's, and it isn't about what she's being taught in public school. It's what she's being taught by the adults that are out there.
Right.
If you don't think that she's got access to news and memes and TikTok and things like that, they do. They all do.
That's it. And they're growing up not even having at least the idea or memory of a good America.
Yeah, right.
It's this controversial, petty, childish, blameful, angry America.
Yep.
And that's the only country that they've grown up in.
And no. Yeah.
And that's terrible.
I mean, you take take the mainstream media out of the equation and you're halfway there. All right. So
true. But we forward the message of the mainstream media.
Now
we hear it and we take it up a notch. So we have to be responsible for the message of the mainstream media.
Being a member of the mainstream media, I hate the word mainstream media. If you're part of the media, you're part of the problem. I'm part of the media.
Right.
But that's why I choose to talk about these things, right? So let's see. Tim has a lot to say, and so I'm going to read it before I post it up there because it's easier for me to do that. From the Wall Street Journal, if the Senate proceeds to a trial and successfully convicts Mr. Trump, he couldn't be removed from an office he didn't hold, but the Senate could immediately hold a follow-up vote, subject only to simple majority, to ban Mr. Trump, who has weighed another presidential run in 2020. Right, forever seeking office again. Those are the only punishments. Right, Tim, and right. So a Senate conviction after Mr. Trump has left office wouldn't affect his post-presidential benefits, which include or would. What did he say?
Wouldn't.
Would include pension. Actually, yeah, it could. From what I read, put those things in jeopardy if he's found guilty of a second one. So then it would be, what is the punishment if the Senate decides that he is guilty, because they can't remove him from office. However, if they find him guilty, they could remove lifetime pension, travel budget, money for an office and staff, and disqualify him from running in the future.
Allowance, travel, and administration for putting the country in
Lisa,
danger.
good morning. Anne Marie agrees. Absolutely. The mainstream media has successfully put their audience into echo chambers, and that's what. You're right. And listen, go back and watch last Monday's "It's Your Move," and I talk about that and why I talk about the psychological reasons that people tend to believe false information or misinformation out on the internet. Just that psychological piece of it. It's a pretty good show, but you can find it on YouTube. Of course, we've got over 2 million listeners here at 21.6 The Net. I'm glad you're caught in the net this morning with us here on
the net. Look at you
here.
Jeez.
Hey, right? Sharing some time.
The net.
Hey,
woo! All right.
Come on. It's good. We're ready to roll. We got 2 million now plus listeners worldwide caught in the net. Our goal on our YouTube channel is to get at least 2,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of this year. And that's just 1% of our listeners. So,
Do that.
go over there, like us, subscribe, ring the bell. Gary says people need to step out of the echo chambers. They'll realize what the other side is all about. Absolutely. So the interesting thing is, I don't watch the news. I don't have cable. I don't watch news. I choose to read the news, and I read several different things in my research to do that. Yeah, Tim, one of the original founders, like, hey, it only took 3 years to come up with that. Love it. Yeah. Hey, we're glad you're caught in the net this morning. So, and I'm just watching the time. We're at the bottom of the hour. Of course, Bridging Civil Tension is brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Gold Shield. Check them out at goldshieldtoday.com. Great HVAC, electricians, all that good stuff. Yeah. I can't drink too much of that Death Wish. Yeah, hashtag Death Wish coffee. Absolutely. I got it in my Yeti. We're just product pushing everything this morning. Let's just see if we can get some money rolling in here. That's good.
Death Wish coffee.
Oh, it's good. It's
called Death Wish.
Yeah, it's super caffeinated. It's really smooth. It's really, really good. Yeah. And before we switch to the second topic, the mainstream media runs agenda of government, and judiciary also gets suppressed by the government. It's one of the main reasons for civil tension amongst people. It creates imbalance in this. Yeah, absolutely. And then we talked a little bit, Raman, about that last week with the master of puppets and who's, what are we really watching? And like the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the green curtain.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Yeah, you got Dr. Evil up there. So, absolutely. And here's the thing. Do I think he needs to be impeached? Do we need to spend the money on that impeachment? I don't know, but here's what I know. He's been impeached. Now you have to follow through with it. And you can't just let it go away.
Right.
And if he's found guilty from the Senate with a 2/3 majority vote, then he needs to be held responsible and take away some of those things.
I just don't know what that does, though.
Hey, it irritates a lot of Billy Bobs, I guess.
A kid who has everything, you take away a Lego?
Yeah.
Like, what does that do?
Right. Right.
I'm go play this PlayStation.
And Rama says, this is just my perspective from the world's largest democracy to the world's oldest democracy. So, right. Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And the other part of today that we wanted to talk about, Phil, you called this back this fall, right?
Right.
When this all took on, right? So what did you say about our next segment?
So our next segment is the Kenosha Shooter.
Yeah.
And the play that she typically ran takes a little while for the arrest. Arrest happens. Somehow always bail is met.
Bail is met.
It was a $2 million bond.
So 10% of that's $200,000 they had to come up with, right? That's usually how bond works, I think.
Family for the 17-year-old kid somehow came up with $200,000. And as always, somehow released. It goes underneath the radar. And now this kid is posted in a bar, throwing up the white power sign with the Proud Boys.
So let's see. Let's just do something here. Let's see if I can pull this up. There. There we go. So this is the Kenosha Shooter.
All right.
We won't say, his first name. I mean, last name might be Rittenhouse. I don't know. I don't know how to spell it correctly. Whatever. 18 years of age. Now he was 17 when the
shooting happened.
When the hunt was on, and now looks like a fun neighborhood bar, and looks like everybody in that picture is got the white supremacist symbol rocking out there, right? Okay,
maybe it's coincidence.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's what people say. doesn't necessarily mean white power. They're all throwing it up though confidently.
Yeah. I mean, he seems to be having a good time there.
It's a good diverse
got his
group.
hat on backwards, and the shirt
Says
that he's
free. The shirt says "free as F."
yeah, free AF.
Free AF. Yes.
Right. Free AF. Right. Yeah. You're right, Mel. There was a GoFundMe raising money for his for his
him.
bail.
Right.
Right. Is that bail? Yeah. So
Which one side of our country doesn't like people who are criminals, and the other side, if it's in the name of patriotism, we can do a GoFundMe to help murderers.
I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to pop that up. I've seen enough of that. So thank you very much. So you called it. You said, listen, he ain't going to be in long. And he's going to be walking free.
Right.
And he's been to court. Was it just the initial hearing or was it the overall?
I'm assuming it was just the initial hearing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hopefully that was not you're away scot-free.
Right.
Typically when you're on bond, to my knowledge, it is before the final hearing. But it just, if we're talking about things that pull strings and things that cause a reaction, at what point are we done trying to incite people?
Yeah. What? I mean,
we're going to continuously do things that frustrate people and cause a reaction, and we're going to just keep letting it happen. Why?
Well, not only that, but this is in the Washington Post, the Chicago Tribune, the Kenosha News, to what Ramit's saying. I mean, the media is why put this out there? Why put these pictures out there? Because you want to piss somebody off. You're trying to incite a riot. You're trying to.
I see, but it's both. Because here's why. Because it almost appears that we're cool with blaming it when it looks like me. We're cool. We're saying that that's wrong.
Right.
But if it's the other side that's doing the pushing, there's some other place for responsibility. We won't say, well, why is he out? Why is he allowed to feel confident to post the white power and all of that? Like, we'll say, why is the media sharing it versus why is there anything to share?
Yeah.
There shouldn't be able to be shared a free AF picture throwing up white power. Like, if I killed someone, I'd be arrested. I'd be in jail. I wouldn't be able to be free AF at downtown bar in Crystal Lake. I would have to deal with the consequences of my actions. But if it's him, we got GoFundMe because of patriotism, and we get white power pictures. And the focus is the media versus the system that allows him to be free after murdering someone.
Yeah. So here's before, and there's pictures out there of him grabbing a beer at the bar. Right. Prosecutors. So this was shortly. So he was in court on January 5th. And then after court, he, with his mother, Wendy, went to a tavern in Racine County. Shortly after he entered not guilty pleas to homicide and attempted homicide charges for shootings that occurred during the protest of the Jacob Blake shooting. Right. Now, Jacob Blake lived. Right.
He's on a wheelchair.
Yeah, he's crippled now, right? Or paralyzed or something, whatever. So this photo of Rittenhouse at a tavern wearing a Free AF T-shirt was widely shared on social media, prompting the Mount Pleasant police, where it was at in Racine County, Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, who received a complaint from public to obtain security video from the bar. Prosecutors they filed a bond modification motion asking Rittenhouse be barred from drinking or associating with white supremacist group while on bond. According to documents filed with the motion, security video from the tavern showing Rittenhouse posing for photos while the defendant and the other adults flashed the
white power symbol.
Yeah, the white supremacist symbol. And then there's affidavit, things like that. Now, and before too many people get too crazy, Coach says, I would bail you out, Bill.
Thanks, Coach.
Now, in Wisconsin,
Right.
as long as you are 18 and you are with your parent,
You're allowed to.
you're allowed, and your parent gives you the permission. From what I understand, I don't know the law, but from what I understand,
right.
And we used this a long time ago when I was a kid too. Is, hey, I'm his parent. Really, you look the same age.
Yeah.
You know, is you can drink and be in a bar as long as you're with your parent. Now, when he showed up, I guess there were some Proud Boys there that serenaded him. You know, no, being a white supremacist is not illegal, is it?
Mm-mm.
It ain't smart, I don't think, but it's not illegal.
It's not illegal,
right? However, it sounds like it was just the initial hearing to where he pled not guilty.
Right.
Now, let's just say you are Mr. Steinberg, a white Jewish guy who's this kid's attorney.
Right.
How you feel about that? I mean, what do you do? I mean, I laugh, but I'm like, oh, I'd be like, hey, you know what? I quit. I'm gonna fire myself from this case.
But
I think
at the same time, there's a lawyer somewhere with the same belief system as Kyle.
Yeah.
And he's gonna defend Kyle.
Yeah.
With no hitch in his moral compass, no type of regret or remorse, and Kyle's gonna get away free for what he did.
Yeah.
And the lawyer won't feel bad. If this dude steps down, someone else is going to step up. Now, is it smart? Not at all to sit here and post those pictures.
Yeah.
My question is, for those who are saying it's patriotism, do we now think or agree with that maybe he didn't just go to that location to protect stores, that maybe a kid who drove from Antioch to Kenosha with an assault rifle actually knew what he's doing, and the fact that he can openly post white power photo with Proud Boys is letting you know that maybe the people that you argue with so passionately kind of know what they're talking about, because we've seen it before.
So Coach says, remember the old saying, it's better for the world to think you're a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Social media has taken this to a whole new level. Oh, yeah. Now, here's to your point, what you just said, and I know you didn't know, maybe you knew this, I don't know. Prosecutors and defense attorneys are generally precluded from engaging in pretrial publicity. But Attorney Pierce, who withdrew from the criminal case to focus on fundraising, has repeatedly had Rittenhouse and his mother interviewed and has used conservative media to promote the idea that Rittenhouse is a patriot and a hero. They have taken the unusual step of creating a website and store with branded merchandise.
Okay, so let's put it as a frame of reference. We talked about this. Imagine an O.J. Simpson souvenir shop.
Yep.
Where he can have knives sold for patriotism, T-shirts to say where the white women at.
Yep. How would you like a necktie?
How would you like a necktie? One glove sets for the winter time. Like,
yeah,
it would be very insulting. It would probably.
No, he was not guilty at all.
He was not guilty at all. But for those who were upset at how things played out, to have merchandise sold for your benefit,
now,
that's smearing it in the face of people who are upset about it.
Now you have to. Hey,
that's like a Zimmerman, the guy who killed Trevor. He goes and he signs Skittles bags across the country.
Really?
Arizona teas and Skittles bags.
People are sick.
But look,
right.
So we're allowed to openly allow them to do that. But if a certain group of people showed up at those events,
right,
to confront what he is doing, you shouldn't be angry.
Right.
Stop letting them push them. Stop poking the bear.
Right. Stop poking the bear. Now, the store and branded merchandise promote Rittenhouse as a teenager who, quote, volunteered to help protect local businesses and who protected himself when brutally attacked. I thought he was just going up to protect the family business. Now he's protecting all the local businesses. Great 17-year-old kid there.
So if you're going to protect stores, why are you now associated with white supremacy groups openly? Like, it's fun.
Yeah. Oh, hey, there's a picture of him drinking the beer.
Yeah. If I'm going to believe and not just have my own personal stance on it.
Yeah.
Okay, he was a patriot, but then the pictures come out where he is associating openly and having fun with encouragement for the behavior that he did and how he handled it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's really hard for me to sit here and say he did it in the love of protecting Target.
Now, Rittenhouse acted in self-defense, quote unquote, when he shot and killed Joseph Rosenbaum, 36 of Kenosha, and Anthony Huber, 26 of Silver Lake, and then shot and injured Gage Gross-Kruitz. I think it's how Gross-Kruitz or something, 26 of West Dallas. Now, I don't know. Were any of these minorities? Were any of these?
I don't know.
I don't know. But as a parent, now I'm going to take this from a parent's standpoint, and this is my son. Fuck. Pardon my language. Look at. First, I've told my kids, I'm like, you do something stupid, you will sit in jail. You will sit in jail. Right? You go out drunk driving, you do something stupid when I've told you to call me, whatever. You will sit in jail.
But she drove him up there.
But now, I'm taking you out to bars and getting around and flashing this when your life hangs in the balance. If he's not found, if he's found guilty of this is two people he killed. You're never going to see him again. That's life, man. Right?
We'll see.
Well, I understand, but that's why I said
it's life for some.
That's why I said I'm coming as a parent. What is going through? First of all, what is going through your head that night? Listen, hey, there's a riot happening in Kenosha. Listen, you better keep your ass in the basement. You don't need to go get tied up in that.
No, she drove him up there.
Right? Second, it's this.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want to go up there and protect the family store? Okay. Oh, you're going to get in my Corolla with your AR-15?
Mm-hmm.
You got that thing loaded? What? And extra rounds? Let's go. At what point through your head, as a parent, do you go, this is all wrong? Again, we've lost all form of right and wrong.
But if hate is your sport,
that's true,
and that's your thing. That's just like, Colette making sure she has her shoes and got your bag, got your jersey. Yep, check. Okay, let's ride. So. We're headed to the tournament.
Yeah, and again,
game time.
And I can't, because I don't think like that. I can't. I mean, that's probably why I don't think like that.
If you're full of hate and you're raising,
I guess you're right
that way.
Yeah. Time to go.
Time to go.
Get your lacrosse gear.
Yeah.
Get your AR-15. And then I guess then that makes perfect sense why you would parade him into a bar when his life hangs in the balance. I mean, your job as a defense attorney is to create reasonable doubt that he was protecting himself. Now what's transpired after the fact,
okay.
Right? Yeah, bazooka. Don't forget the bazooka, right? And the grenade launcher.
That's what I was forgetting. My bazooka.
That's right. Now the only thing that I can think of is that they're trying to publicize this and make it as public as possible so that there's not a fair trial, so that they can get it moved or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, what's transpired here, you've taken away any reasonable doubt that it was self-defense. You actually went up there because you hate the movement that was happening up there.
Right. So Now
Right.
the interesting thing is,
Let's
going with that,
Yeah.
they would remove doubt to see how it plays out. Because to me and you, it looks like, well, clearly it wasn't to protect the stores. Clearly, Kyle feels a certain way towards African Americans.
Rabbit season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season. It's rabbit season.
Right. He
It's
went out
people
there.
season.
So if it's clear to us,
Yeah,
it should be clear to those who make those decisions. But then when the judgment and the sentencing happens, and it's not how it should be, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, well, what happened? I mean, the police that shot Blake, nothing happened to them, right?
He got fired.
One guy got fired. And now this kid can't walk. Yeah, right. Just a little slap on the
Because
wrist.
from what I understand, it would be
Probably still gets his pension.
well, I could get fired from, let's just say, just for namesake, just locally. I could
Yeah.
get fired from the Crystal Lake Police Department, and then Woodstock could hire me.
Hmm.
Algonquin could hire me. So no,
That's
no, I
right.
don't work here, but I work the next town over.
Okay. So I got to let go from this department. So that's what happened with the guys up in Minneapolis, right?
Right.
With Floyd, is that they had 12 strikes against him, but this cop is, this department's like, nah, I think you're a good guy. Come on in.
Right, come on in.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
So then,
Wow.
what message does that send? That it's okay
Yeah.
to kill black people. It's
Yeah.
okay to go against the movement, however you want to do it,
However you want to do it.
and as a country, we'll back you with it. It's not that message is that behavior isn't causing unity.
No, right, and that's what I say. Putting these pictures out there isn't. You're inciting anger. You're getting people riled up. I mean, we're talking about it here on this show. At what time? At what point? I mean, what would the trial have been? Of Jeffrey Dahmer, if he was at Shoney's eating a foot.
Like, you brought that with you, bro?
Yeah, right. You know what I mean?
It's my cooler.
Yeah, I have this special diet, or if the media, take a look at any mass murderer, that's been out there, and again, to your point, hey, OJ,
Wearing the blazing saddles with a white woman ass shirt.
right. Yeah, so I get it, and again, it all folds back into where did we lose our sense of right and wrong in this? Where did my compassion for my neighbor, love the neighbor as yourself, the golden rule, do unto others as you would want done unto you, right? It's the golden rule. So this kid is saying, I want everybody to know that I'm an idiot.
So there's the golden rule, but there's also, if you're watching the rules on what you can get away with,
Yep.
you're going to see if you can get away with it.
Yeah.
And for some, they would say it's a loud and clear message of what you can get away with in this country as long as it's directed in a certain area towards a certain group.
Right. Well, it's a court of law. It's not a court of just. Right. So, and in every law, you're going to have your schmimey attorney who can find a loophole in it. Right. And find, hey, back in 1938, Jones against Wallace, and this is the outcome. So it's been doing it, whatever. Right.
But to be able to say, okay, 1938, we knew what we were doing in that trial too.
Yeah.
We knew that was wrong. We knew that this happened because this person was of this color. Don't keep allowing it to happen.
That's where it's got to stop. I mean, that's where it's got to stop. And that's why I say is at what point is it like the airplane where people are just slapping Americans in the face saying, come on, wake up, get a grip. What is wrong with you? Next.
We're not there yet.
No.
Unfortunately, we're not there. It seems like we want to just keep saying how much we can keep pushing each other. And it's a terrible place to be. It's not working.
Well, and again, when we continue to put our faith in man, in humans, And a lot of this is because of a hatred for a person or an ideology, right? You and I talked about that. You are part of a great leadership program here, LGMC, right?
Yep, leadership of Greater McHenry County,
and which is really produced a ton of great leaders for this area. And you had Lauren Underwood as a guest this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was she live? I mean, was it Zoom?
She was live on the Zoom.
Yeah. And you were like, "Oh, this lady's dynamic."
Right.
Wow. Right. She's good. Now you asked me, I'm like, I've never met her. I've heard a couple things. I understand she's a Democrat, but cool. I don't, right. And then Altoff, the ex-senator, she was on there as well, but you grew up and have
a lot of love and appreciation.
There's an R in front of her name.
Right.
And to that point, you were like, yeah, but that's
still Miss Altoff.
Right.
I still have a lot of love and respect for that family. It doesn't change just because there's a letter in front of it.
Right. Here's what I'll say is, in my heart of heart, there's a lot of people out there like us. I think there's more people, but we're quiet and we stand by and we watch things happen.
Right.
And there's that old saying is that if you don't address it, you bless it. Right.
You're on a roll today,
dude. And because we haven't addressed the inequalities, because we haven't addressed a 17-year-old kid walking down a city street with an AR-15, and we gave him water,
right,
and high-five him.
He's in a neighborhood to protect stores that aren't in the neighborhood that he's shooting people.
But
go ahead.
Something might not work out well.
Something
again has to go. Click. Something probably not going to work out well with this 17-year-old boy in an AR-15.
Residential area for commercial purposes. Tough sell.
But all right. Maybe it was landscaping. I mowed that lawn. Try to protect it. But truly, right? So no matter where you stand, we got to go back to right and wrong. And again, if you don't address it, you bless it. And that's what this show's all about, is we want to be able to have that healthy conversation. I get it. We irritate a lot of people. And I get that Phil irritates a lot of people because you don't think like him. And I get that I irritate a lot of people because you don't think like me.
True.
And that's okay. True. But it still doesn't mean that I don't love you because you're a human being. Still doesn't mean that you and I couldn't sit down and have a civil conversation over a cup of coffee, a beer, whatever.
Right.
It doesn't mean that. Now, does it mean that perhaps I'm not going to go to your bar and flash white supremacist signs? Yeah, it probably could mean that. That doesn't change who I am, right, or what I believe in. Right? Growing up as a kid, several times, don't hang out with them. Bad people. You don't know that they're bad people. They're my friends.
Right.
Right? Then you kind of look back and go, oh, man.
He's right.
Whoops. Hey, you're not going to? No. Matter of fact, I got to go. Right? And then you get home, you're like, oh, you're right, Mom. How'd you know? I just know.
Right. Sometimes you got to take advice from other people.
We got to get back there. We really got to get back there, and we have to understand each other, and we have to take time to listen, right? So my daughter Ashley has created a business, heart to ears. We have to have a big enough heart to let our two ears hear the other person.
Absolutely.
And you can find her on Etsy, Heart to Ears.
Yeah.
But the idea is, again, and that's what this show is all about, is if we make you uncomfortable, good. If you don't agree with everything that Phil and I talk about, good. If you want to call me soft, I've got I got over 2 million listeners. Call me soft all day.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. So Randy says, my daddy used to say, there are good people and bad people. Please hang out with good people. Amen.
Yep.
Right. No it.
Those gingers, though, Peter.
Those gingers, though. You do have to be careful of those gingers, right? The problem is most say that, but the anger and conflict and aggression used when a point of view is not the same is immensely conflicting in general, not you specifically. Here's what I will say to that. Now, for many people who don't know me, I love the Star Wars saga. It is fantastic. Yes. And the dark side, that's the hate, the anger, right? Just how many battles have stormtroopers won? They're the worst.
Right.
That's an army of just stand there and get blasted.
You don't see anything. We don't see anything.
Right. So I get what you're saying, Lisa, but at the same time, that anger and whatnot, you do have to understand that stormtroopers are not good fighters. Right. And if you're going to follow hate blindly like the stormtroopers do, then absolutely be ready to be a target. Right. Because, however, in the Mandalorian, if you follow that, they had like Cyborg. They're called the Dark Storm. Or the Dark Troopers or something like that. Yeah. They were bad.
They were awesome.
They were bad.
If you're finding a lot of aggression when you're talking to people, what I found is maybe look to hear them first before just trying to make a point.
Yeah.
And I find that people are being more receptive to listening to you as well, Lisa, if they see that you try to listen to them first, maybe. And if that's genuinely trying to hear a side that's not your own, then when you get a chance to speak your side, that's why when me and Kent sat down that first time, it wasn't just, no, young man, let me school you. It was genuinely explain this to me.
Right.
And then so when he was telling me, his side as a Republican, it's a lot more easier to listen to. If he was just going to come to me saying I'm wrong for, being Democrat, or if that was what I was, I probably wouldn't have heard anything that Kent said to me that day.
Yeah. I mean, when all this blew up, that's why I said, I don't understand how you feel. I can't walk a mile in your shoes because I'm not African American.
Right.
I said the same thing to Pete. Like, I can't walk a mile in your shoes. I'm not a ginger. And they got no soul.
How would I look as it? Anyway,
Dennis Johnson, DJ, right? Anyway,
stand out.
Yeah.
Be free.
Imagine you in a ginger beard.
Well,
yeah. There's like 3 or 4 good red ones.
Look at that. Unbelievable. Listen, we have gone. We have gone way over our time, but it's because I absolutely love this. I'm interested in, and we're going to keep you kind of up to date because I'm interested to see what happens with this whole. There's Pete doing the nice job, the limbo. That looked great.
If you would have saw the screen, it was awesome. It's like a pea coat turtle shell that just kind of.
If you've got, listen, we are so excited you guys got stuck in the net. Caught in the net here this morning with us. If you've got topics you want us to talk about that are just irritating you don't understand, Phil and I will tackle those. We would absolutely love that. Give us some feedback. But until then, folks, we want you to understand, man, the golden rule is quit burning bridges, start walking across them and listening to what your brother has to say or your sister has to say. And trust me, America, we can be the land of the free and the home of the brave and proud again. And hopefully that's what we get to. But we'll keep an eye on this Kenosha shooter and what happens with the trial and things that go on, because it'll be interesting to see. To your point, what's going to happen.
Right.
So for all of us here at 21.6, how do they get in touch with you, Phil, if they need to?
The Bridge Community on Facebook, Phil Wallace on Facebook. Also, Learn to Sew on Instagram.
That's it. And of course, reach out to us, 216thenet.com. Come back here this evening at 6:30? 6:30, I believe, is Whining with Dawn. So grab a glass of wine and come on in for some silly fun and stories about life and from the ladies' perspective. And we will see you then. Of course, stop by tomorrow morning at 9:30 for Metaphysical Meanderings with Master Psychic Lana Hartgreaves. And then come back on Sunday at 9 for Lisa's Changing Perceptions.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Love you guys.